What up? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And look at you. You done stumbled upon little OTB Saints, where we bring you all the latest black and gold coverage.
Who are the Saints going to draft? Who's going to be their quarterback? What does the salary cap look like? All that information and more.
Hope you enjoy it. Like, subscribe. Let's get to the New Orleans Saints here. As some disappointing news, Dennis Allen revealing that Tano Pasu has torn his Achilles. It's not exactly clear when this happened. Did it happen during the OTAs that the media was not privy to? But apparently it was during a running drill in the Saints indoor facility. Obviously, you tear your Achilles at this portion of the season, you'll likely be done for the season. Now, for what it's worth, Allen did not rule out a possible return for 2024. But I guess the question begs, okay, how big of a deal is this? Kpassagnon about to be 30 years old, entering his fourth season with the Saints. He's played in 40 games. He's had 10 starts. He's been okay from a productive standpoint, right? He's had his moments. Last year against the Giants, he had that crazy game where he popped off for 3 sacks against Tommy DeVito. Whatever he was seeing out of the O-lineman that day, he just had the edge on him. But I got to be honest, guys. I don't know about y'all. Well, I guess there's two ways of approaching this. I was going to say that my instinct is I'm not that worried about it because Tano would play defensive end. He was also kicked down during the interior in some pass rush situations. And, well, I look at defensive end, and you've got Cam Jordan, you've got Carl Granderson, you've got Chase Young. I think you're okay there. On the interior, you still have Brian Brzee, you have Kalen Saunders, you have Nathan Shepard. Now, I guess the other way of viewing it, though, would be you look at defensive end and Cam Jordan is recovering from ankle surgery. Chase Young is recovering from neck surgery. Now Tano Pasu likely going to miss the season. So again, while Tano was not a starter, either on the edge or the interior, and was going to be Carl Granderson's backup, it's maybe not ideal in an offseason where that same position group now has a few different injuries stacked up. Now, clearly, I think that the difference would be that Cam Jordan, we expect to be available, and Chase Young, we would definitely hope that he would be available. Otherwise, that would be sorely disappointing, given how excited we originally were when that signing was made. And then again, you have Isaiah Foskey somewhere in the mix, right? Can Foskey give you anything? Make no mistake, up to this point, Foskey has been a bust on par with Trevor Penning. It's just that you didn't put as much resources into him, so the bust doesn't sting quite as badly. But that was the case for year number 1. Maybe he steps up in year number 2. Or, Taylor, do you think you have to go and start to explore the free agent market and just add a body to this group, given the kind of stacked up injury concerns?
Yeah, maybe. I look at this a lot, and this is something you can relate to more. I look at this as like you're losing your best sixth man on the offensive line, a guy that could come in and play guard or tackle. Your starters are still intact. The problem is your best depth piece is now gone at both guard and tackle, or in this case, tackle and defensive end. So,
well, but would he have been best? Let's say if you have a healthy Chase Young, if you have healthy Cam Jordan, Chase Young, and Carl Granderson. Tano's probably 4th on that list.
Probably, yeah, and he probably helps you more defensive tackle at that point as well, right?
Yeah,
because
maybe
outside
interior
of
pass
Sanders, Shepard, and Brzee, you're a little unproven there as well. You bring in Christian Boyd in the 6th round, who a lot of people like. He's a defensive tackle, but he's unproven. Yeah, I mean, with a healthy Chase Young, he probably plays more interior.
I will say that I think Brzee is a fantastic interior pass rusher. I think he proved that year. I think I'm probably something we haven't talked about enough this offseason, the potential of Brian Brzee going into year number 2. Because I found that he was productive. I found that he managed to be productive late in the season as well, which when you're talking about a rookie managing to avoid that rookie wall and continue to improve as the season goes on, that makes me very excited for his potential going forward. So here's what I would say. You definitely don't get, it's not never good when anybody gets injured. It's not like it makes you better or anything that Tano Pasu got hurt. And I feel awful for him personally to catch an Achilles at this portion of the offseason and ruin all the hard work you've done up to this portion of the offseason and basically ruin your season going forward mentally. That's awful. That said, I don't think this is like an injury where I'm adjusting my expectations at all. This is not making me feel more wins. This is not making me feel more losses. He is a nice depth piece, and he's one that you may need to consider signing someone to try to replace, given some of the other injury concerns at that position. But this is not a make or break sort of injury here as far as the entire team is concerned. So as calloused as this may sound, this is one of the more palatable injuries I think that you could have suffered during this offseason portion of the season. And I feel bad saying that, but it's likely the truth.
Well, I'm looking at the free agency right now. There's options at defensive end and defensive tackle. I mean, DN, you got Manuel Ogba and Carl Lawson. I mean, those are probably the two biggest names. Both of those guys 30 or under. And then defensive tackle, you got solid guys out there. Hassan Ridgeway is out there. Al Woods is still available as well.
The homecoming of Al Woods,
years old.
After you cut him, after you were the original team that drafted and cut him in his first NFL camp, only for him to play like 15 years, do the Saints bring Al Woods home for one more fight? I would love that personally, because I think that would be, honestly, the amount of experience that Al Woods would bring to bear and the positive benefits that could have for a guy like Brian Brzee. Could be really fantastic. Now the vet minimum's probably a bit expensive there, and so I wonder if that would be a potential turnoff. But man, you get me a little frisky mentioning Mr. Woods there.
Now there's a lot more available defensive ends in terms of youth and young talent. But yeah, I mean, Al Woods 37, but I mean he could be a solid depth piece. This is not a guy you're going to bring in as a starter. Linval Joseph, who's 35 years old, but he has played a lot of football. He's available as a defensive tackle.
Animal.
Yeah, there's a lot
in
of
his career.
Solid, savvy veterans out there that you could bring in at end or tackle.
Okay, so again, it sucks for Tano. Also, one of the more fun names to say, Tano Pasu. But it's not the end all be all for the Saints. And as Taylor just laid out, there are options to solving it. Though maybe none of those guys kind of the hybrid that the Saints have been using Tano in. But there's options out there. Wow, just amazing black and gold takes right there, Jake.
I don't think I've ever heard any takes that are better than the two guys that just gave you that take.
And you can keep getting them by going ahead and liking, subscribing, ringing the bell to get notifications when we post. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next OTB Saints.